Okay, welcome to our Erev Shabbat special Parashat class, Parashat Tessave, the mysterious garments. Let's talk about the most mysterious one of the garments that are adorned by Aharon HaKohen. This parasha so intricately describes every single detail of every garment that the Kohen Gadol Aharon HaKohen was going to wear, as well as the regular Kohanim, and articulates every precise thread, every chain, every ring, every dimension in such a detailed way. Everyone had to be crafted by hand by Bezalel and his team and the great craftsmen. There is one, and perhaps the most impactful, you can say almost the most, definitely the most impactful of the garments, that has no description. And we have no idea from the text of the Torah what it is. And what I'm referring to is what we know as the Urim V'Tumim. What is the Urim V'Tumim? Let's just start by saying they're the mysterious garment. It's the most enigmatic term that's used throughout these parashiot. The Torah decides to conceal from us the details of the Urim V'Tumim. Let's get a little context, if we can, and identify the fact that it is, we're in Parashat Tessave, obviously, we're in Perek Kafchet, chapter 28, and we're in the paragraph which starts with Pasuk Tedvav, verse 15, that deals with what's called the Hoshen Mishpat. So the Hoshen Mishpat is, let's say, the most impactful of the actual crafted garments, and that's known as the breastplate, and specifically, Mishpat, the breastplate of judgment, the breastplate of judgment. What is that? It is a square, doubled cloth made of all of the precious threads with a crafted and woven type of image that will emanate from it. It has four corners with four rings, with chains hooking up on the shoulders to the straps of the apron, and on the lower side to the edge of the apron. And it has on it 12 stones, different, each one a different species of stone that is listed in the Torah. And on each stone is a representation and a name of the 12 tribes. The Hoshen Mishpat, as it sounds, the breastplate of judgment, atones for corruption in the justice system of Am Yisrael, which is a major, major atonement and a major flaw throughout history, which was somewhat the cause of destruction of Am Yisrael being thrust into Galut. So it serves a powerful function, and it's described in detail. Towards the end of the Hoshen Mishpat, going all the way to Pasuk Lamed, the Torah, after describing the crafting of it, throws at us what you call, at a left field, a description that is completely not described. Pasuk Lamed says, "V'natata el Hoshen HaMishpat," you shall put in the breastplate of judgment, et ha'urim ve'et ha'tumim. It's a two-word term. It's not defined or described. It's just called something called urim v'tumim. V'hayu aleb Aharon. That vehicle, that garment, that entity will be on the heart of Aharon. V'bo'ol lifnei Adonai, as he comes to represent before God. And with this Hoshen Mishpat, Urim V'Tumim combination, Aaron will carry the judgment and hopefully the protection of Am Yisrael on his heart before God constantly. The positive remembrance and recollection of Am Yisrael, you can say as well, within that terminology. And that's it. That is it. We know that in a few parashiot, Parashat Pekudei, when the actual crafting was done and placements and adornment was done, that practically the same term is used, And it's just simply said that Moshe followed orders and he put the Urim v'Tumim on Aharon HaKohen. That's all it says. What is this? And why is the Torah not describing what it is? Ibn Ezra attempts to describe an actual physical garment that has traces in it, ingredients of gold and silver. And the Ramban, pointing out what's lacking in the Torah, absolutely rejects the opinion. And the Ramban is followed by many in understanding, and he ends up adopting the traditional Perush of Rashi from Hazal. The Ramban says, first of all, you have to look at the Pasuk. The Pasuk, again, lends no description. The Pasuk doesn't state a function. The Pasuk also is never charged or directed to anyone. In other words, all the other garments are directed towards the team and to Am Yisrael in general being responsible to craft. It's only spoken in single term to Moshe Rabbeinu. You shall place this Urim v'Tumim. So therefore, there is no instructions available, and there is really no responsible party. If there really were to be a specific garment that it was supposed to represent, then you would expect the Torah would do what it did with the rest of the garments. Not so. Also, he adds that the Torah says, put in the breastplate of justice, ha'urim ve'et ha'urim ve'et ha'tumim, using the definite article the urim v'tumim, as if it's something that's known and existing. So for all those, with all that analysis in the terminology of the Pasuk, says that Ramban is clear. This is not an actual garment to be crafted like everything else. Instead, he adopts the traditional approach of Rashi from the Hachamim, and that is, there's a Shem HaMeforash, there is an explicit name of God, or perhaps more than one, that is apparently recorded or written, and it is put inside the Hoshen Mishpat. Now, as we mentioned, the Pasuk tells us that the Hoshen Mishpat, we are told in Pasuk Tezayin, verse 16, it's Rabua Yeh Kafur. It's square, but it's double. So based on that, we understand why it's folded over and doubled in order to create a receptacle area to put something in between. And indeed, there is a writing of the name, explicit name of God, which we're not familiar with these days, that's put in between. Now, what did it serve? The Torah doesn't say what function it serves. We know, not just from Hachamim, we know from our knowledge going forward in Nebi'im, how it was actually used. It was used by, there's three parties that Barbanel explains. There's the party of the significant, prestigious person who needs to ask a question, sometimes a request of permission, and others a question, an incredibly important inquiry, like, should we go to war on behalf of Am Yisrael, which is asked many times, has to be asked the first party, the prestigious person doing the asking. The second is the component, we can say, is the critical question. It's not how the weather is going to be tomorrow. And the third is the recipient of the question, who's the Kohen Gadol, wearing the breastplate, has within it these, so to speak, Urim v'Tumim. Now, why is it, what happens when that question is asked? Why is it called Urim v'Tumim? So the Gemara Masechet Yoma says, asks that question, Lama nikra sheman Urim v'Tumim? Urim shemeirim et divrehem, Tumim shemashlimin et divrehem, as the word sound. Urim from the root word or, that it enlightens with its words. In other words, it enlightens us with information. And Tumim from the word tam, complete, it completes with its words. Sorry. So basically what happened is that a question was asked, and by, let's say, the king, and asked the Kohen Gadol. But what happened is that the different stones would light up, and with on them are the letters of the tribe. And almost like on the old telephone, they have deal where you had 3 letters on every number, right? So you don't know exactly what letter it stands for, but you have to figure it out, right? And take a choice of 3 letters, and it forms a word, right? The same thing. The Kohen Gadol. Well, now this is the greatness of the person asking, either the Kohen Gadol or it could be a Navi that's there present asking, is figuring out. First of all, the Ramban explains there's 2 components. There's the Urim, which lighting up the stones, and he is being able to glean from each stone one of the appropriate letters, but there's no particular order. And then this Tumim idea, where he is able to codify the order of those letters, complete Tumim, and form from it the message. Thus, Urim v'Tumim. So that is the Ramban's complete perush of what's going on over here with Urim v'Tumim. Really, it's based on other sources as well. Very curiously, the Rambam, in his laws of Kilei HaMikdash, his laws of the vessels of the Bet HaMikdash, which he describes, that which is told to us in Parashat Teruma and Tessave, says nothing about Urim v'Tumim, which is quite shocking. Quite shocking. The Sefer Tessave Kabbalah explains why that is and what the Rambam's position is. And he says that the Rambam is of the opinion that Urim v'Tumim were not a separate entity. Urim v'Tumim, in fact, were the breastplate itself of the Kohen Gadol, the Hoshen HaMishpat, the breastplate of judgment, with the 12 stones. And the Urim v'Tumim was simply how it functioned. In other words, those stones lit up and conveyed a message. There was nothing extra that was added to the repertoire and the dress code, the uniform of the Kohen Gadol to complete or create this Urim v'Tumim entity. It's just a description of something that existed already. And the Tessave Kabbalah goes to actually support the Rambam's position with the wording of the Pisukim. So that's a very interesting position. So be that as it may, that would just mean sparing the name of Hashem, which is a big thing to spare inside the Hoshen Mishpat, but it still begs the question as to why, keep it on mute, as to why is it that the Torah lends us no description, or what is the description that the Torah is trying to lend us regarding Urim v'Tumim? Why so enigmatic? Why so ambiguous? Why so mysterious? And so we have a little bit of the Gemara that I left out, and that I think gives us some insight as to this question. And the Gemara states to us that Gezerat af al pish Gezerat Navi Chazeret, even though the decree of prophecy can be retrieved, in other words, in some circumstances, not necessarily come true, like with Yonah the prophet, but Urim v'Tumim ena chozeret. Ena chozeret. In other words, the prediction.
Shave and start fresh. That's the rule. Shave and start fresh.
The prediction of the Urim v'Tumim can never be retrieved. In other words, when it predicts a fact, that fact must be abided by. In other words, it must come true unconditionally. How do we know this? The Pasuk proves it. B'mishpat ha'urim. The Torah says it. The Torah in another source. What's the other source? When we go to Parashat, when Moshe Rabbeinu asked Hashem before he dies for another leader, and Yeshua ben Nun, and Yeshua ben Nun is the leader that's appointed. It says, "V'lifnei Elazar haKohen ya'amod." The leader Yeshua will stand before Elazar the Kohen Gadol in the future. V'sha'alo b'mishpat ha'urim ve'atumim. And he shall ask him b'mishpat, the law, the conclusion, the decree, so to speak, of Urim v'Tumim. So there is a permanent prediction of the Urim v'Tumim that must come true, which can even act and function higher than Nebuah. So Urim v'Tumim, the insight we're being given right here is from the Torah itself, is functioning in a manner that allows Am Yisrael for more insight than even prophecy in certain circumstances. And something like that, perhaps, is too intangible to even describe. But it goes further. There is yet another Gemara. And with this one, we'll quote and we'll conclude with a profound function of the Urim v'Tumim. The Gemara Masechet Besa says as follows: when Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu at the end by the burning bush, all right, fine, you win. You won't be the messenger. I'm going to solicit your brother Aaron HaKohen. He's going to meet you. And when he does, it says, he's coming, Hinehu when Parashat Shemot Perek Dalet Pasuk Yud Dalet, he's going to meet you, and he's going to see you and rejoice in his heart. The Gemara Masechet Shabbat, page 139a, says that Bischar, the reward that he felt joy in his heart, greeting Moshe Rabbeinu, he merited the Hoshen Mishpat, the breastplate of justice, and within it the Urim v'Tumim. Now, what does one have to do with the other? So the Torah Tamimah brilliantly explains it's a midah keneged midah. It's a measure for a measure. He says Aharon felt no jealousy, felt no resentment to Moshe Rabbeinu in his heart, even though Moshe was going to function as Hashem said, that Aharon will be a mouthpiece for you, Moshe, and you'll be for him an Elohim. You'll be for Aharon, your older brother, as a leader, as an Elohim. Aharon knew that, and yet he rejoiced in his heart. How was he paid back? He's paid back because he is also going to be put in a position of an Elohim. How so? He's going to be given the power of the Urim v'Tumim, and with the Urim v'Tumim, there will be truth and justice and judgment that emanates from him, just like a judge, and a judge is called an Elohim in Parashat Mishpatim and elsewhere. And therefore, you didn't mind him being your Elohim, you're going to be an Elohim, not a God. It means a prestigious person who carries judgment, so to speak. And you see from this another dimension to Urim v'Tumim. And with this, we'll end. Chacham Alav Shalom Eliyahu Bakshi Doron, his great Sefer, Binyan Av, mentions that here we are introduced a heart component, a lev component. Now, we ignored this at first. In the original Pasuk, we told about the Urim v'Tumim, and Hashem said that it was going to be on lev Aharon. Who cares about the fact that it'll be on his heart? What's the significance? Significance is as follows. Urim v'Tumim are here to reveal to us truths that we would otherwise not know. And that is because we lived in a world of sheker, the antithesis of truth. God is the only absolute truth in this world. And most of the time, those certain truths are concealed from us. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose to store and reveal sometimes the ultimate truth in the Urim v'Tumim. But in order for that truth to be able to be revealed, it had to be filtered through the body of truth. In other words, you has to be sitting on a lev of someone who's true and pure, without hatred, jealousy, resentment, who overcomes completely wrongful conduct and traits, who is the paradigm of truthfulness, and that was Aharon. If that can sit on his heart, the truth can be filtered through, because it's nothing more pure than the absolute truth. we rarely see it. We're really confronted with the absolute truth. It came out of Urim V'Tumim, but it can only function if it's filtered through the truthfulness of the purity of a Lev Aharon, and then it will be able to reveal in all its perfection. That shows us, first of all, something of the power of this vehicle, Urim V'Tumim, that can't be described. There is no physical function, and there's no physical crafting of it. And the idea of revealing truth is one that is so more mysterious and enigmatic than anything else in the world. Of course, it couldn't be described. And at the same time, it tells us the fact that there are truths that we don't know. There are absolute truths that we're blinded by and blinded from in this world that are inconspicuous. And the Urim V'Tumim was our opportunity to see clear and true some of the ways of HaKadosh Baruch Hu through his pure, clear, and true messenger, and that was Aharon. And thus, the most mysterious of all the vessels and the garments, the Urim V'Tumim. Shabbat Shalom.
Wow. So question.